Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Pine Street Inn's celebration of the successful completion of Key Moments, the 50th anniversary campaign for Pine Street. I'm Karen Holmes Ward, Director of Public Affairs at WCVB TV Channel 5 and host of Cityline. I am honored to be your MC for this evening's celebratory event. WCVB was Pine Street's media sponsor for the 50th anniversary year, and we were thrilled to help renovate and provide new furnishings for Pine Street residents on Park Drive. You know, I also serve on the President's Council of this wonderful organization and have followed Pine Street's amazing work for many years. Although we can't see one another, I hope you can all feel the spirit of the evening. We have a great program for you with entertainment, a conversation with someone whose life your generosity has impacted, and some brief words about Pine Street and the campaign. But first, I want to introduce the heart and soul of Pine Street, a leader whose name is synonymous with ending homelessness in Boston, and someone who has dedicated her entire career to this work. Please join me in welcoming Pine Street's president and executive director, Lyndia Downey.
Karen, thanks so much for that lovely introduction, and good evening, everyone. I'm Lyndia Downey, the president and executive director of Pine Street Inn. I'm thrilled to be here this evening as we mark and celebrate a momentous achievement, the successful completion of our Key Moments 50th anniversary campaign. Not only was this by far the most ambitious campaign in our history, we also completed it a year ahead of schedule, thanks to your support, and, by the way, during a worldwide pandemic. The only way we're going to truly solve homelessness is by creating more housing and housing with support services for people who are homeless the longest. Last year, we had a 97% retention rate in our housing. We know that this works if we give people the right support. The funds raised through this campaign will be dedicated to housing, creating, preserving, and maintaining housing. And these funds are already being put to work, impacting many lives in our city every day. Our first big goal is 200 new units, bringing our total to over 1,000 units. That's 1,000 people who have a key to a place of their own, who no longer have to worry about where they're going to sleep tonight. These 200 units of housing will be in Jamaica Plain and on Clarendon Street in the Back Bay. And we continue to focus on any and all ways to create more housing. Behind me are just 3 examples of Pine Street Inn residences in Greater Boston. Now I'd like to share a personal perspective on how your support makes a difference. There was a story a few years ago in the Boston Globe done by the Spotlight team on homelessness and mental illness. The reporter interviewed a man named David, who mostly stays out on the street in Roxbury. He suffers from mental illness, and he's been homeless on and off for most of his adult life. The reporter asked David what he wanted. He answered, "All I want is a place to live, a job, and to have a friend again." His quote has stayed with me. It's sitting on my desk. It reminds me every single day of the job we need to do. What David wanted is what the rest of us want. Can't begin to tell you how much your support means to us. You're giving people a whole new life by giving them housing. Nobody wants or plans to be homeless. Life can take twists and turns that lead people to the streets and shelters. As one of our guests said to me recently, I'm here because of a combination of bad choices and bad luck. As we've seen over and over, homelessness can happen to anyone. I can see it when I look in the faces of our guests and when I talk to them. All they really want is a place to call home, something your generosity will help make happen for so many people. So thank you for your support, your partnership, and for joining us to celebrate this evening.
Thank you, Lyndia, for sharing this wonderful news with us. Now I want to introduce a Pine Street tenant.
I was born in Philadelphia. There's a total of 6 of us, five boys and 1 girl. I graduated high school at the age of 16. I really didn't have no plan. I went with the flow. And you know, my life, until drinking came along, my life was cool.
My name is Habiba Mumin. I'm a case manager for Pine Street. I have been working Pine Street since 2008. I originally came from East Africa. I got a scholarship to Rabat University in Morocco, and I was there. While I was there, there was civil war happened in my country. So all my family fled out the country. I know how difficult it is. You don't have any family, you don't have any support. That's what it touched me to work with the people who's refugee and immigrant and, homeless. So I was by myself homeless.
I never had an apartment. This is my first apartment ever in my life. That's why I'm treating it like gold. I didn't never understand that concept, but when you lose that privilege of freedom and you got to depend on something else, that's homelessness.
Next, I want to introduce a board member, former board chair, and chair of the Key Moments campaign. Laura Sin, former CEO of BJ's Wholesale Club, has been a dedicated supporter of Pine Street Inn for many years. Her leadership in the campaign helped bring it to the successful conclusion that we're celebrating this evening. Here's Laura Sin.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for the introduction, Karen. As Karen mentioned, I'm Laura Sen, and I've been involved with the Pine Street Inn for many years in many different capacities, almost too many to count. I'm so pleased to be here this evening in my role as campaign chair to celebrate the wonderful news that we have surpassed our $50 million goal. We knew that $50 million was an ambitious goal, but as Lindia said, we also had ambitious plans for expanding our housing and really solving homelessness. In addition to housing expansion, funds from the campaign will be used for a wide range of pilots, program expansions, and other priorities. Some examples include scaling up innovative homeless prevention programs, a range of capital improvements such as a new roof on the Men's Inn, new windows, roofs, and kitchens at numerous housing sites, and new refrigeration and other equipment in our industrial kitchen, just to name a few. 2 new job placement specialists to help the men and women in our workforce development program find stable employment. Equipment for our street outreach team. Funding to launch a housing stabilization team that will help us to maintain the incredible 97% retention rate in the Pine Street housing that Lindia mentioned. And finally, a permanent fund to help cover future housing operation costs, which is critically important to the supportive housing model. I know that a number of you attended our 50th anniversary celebration in 2019 when we kicked off the campaign. That was when we could do live events. There was such energy and optimism in the room that night, and despite the challenges we've faced since then, you, our loyal supporters, came through. Well, that energy and optimism sustained us, even as we've navigated the many challenges of the past year and a half. Although we're not able to celebrate together in person this evening, please know how much it means that you have stood by us. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Laura, and thanks for your dedication to this wonderful organization. Now, I'm thrilled to welcome the talented young people of the Boston Children's Chorus. The group is composed of over 500 singers from 13 choirs. Its mission is to address the social problems of Boston's children and communities. And we have a chorus member with us tonight to introduce a song of hope and joy.
Hello, my name is Magdalena and I'm a singer in the premier choir of Boston Children's Chorus. It's a pleasure to be with you to celebrate Pine Street's campaign and its work to end homelessness in Boston. Last season, we worked with award-winning Haitian composer Sidney Guillaume to create and perform a brand new choral work inspired by our season theme, Waves of Change. The season was focused on the movement of people around the world and the immigrant experience. The song reflects that theme, but also resonates with the experiences of some people right here in our community. It begins with feelings of sadness about the loss of one's home and ends with the joy of finding a new one. We are delighted to share with you today, Finding a Home.
Our drum has lost its beat. Our drum has lost its displacement under our feet. Displacement under our feet. Tamburo predicators, nous sortis-nous des paysans. Tamburo predicators, nous sortis-nous des paysans. Nous des paysans, tamburo predicators. Nous sortis-nous des paysans.
The Boston Children's Chorus, that was great. What a wonderful and talented group of young people. You give us great hope for the future. Now we're going to take a few moments to hear from a tenant whose life has been transformed because of your generosity. The circumstances that lead to homelessness and the pathway out are different for each individual. I've always found it powerful to hear directly from those who Pine Street Inn has supported on their journey from shelter and the streets to the stability and safety of a home. You may recognize him from earlier this evening.
I was never really a social drinker. I drunk always by myself. Because if I had $20 in my pocket, a binge drinker will drink till that money is gone. He won't worry about getting nothing to eat. He won't even worry about where he gonna sleep. My mom, she had 2 rules for me. When you clean and sober, you come and take a shower and do all what you gotta do. She said, when you drunk, you keep it moving. When I was around 24, 25, I said, and I couldn't go home unless I was together. But now it's like, you know, people ask me, do I think back? That's why when we read the promises of the AA, it says, we cannot regret the past, nor shut the door on it. And I try to tell everybody, we can learn from the past to live in the present with God.
I help talking to them, listen to them, the problem. It's not always what they're telling you. It's the something behind that bothered them. And help them referral, say, hey, how about if you go detox? After a couple of days, you don't have to even finish it if you want to. So just go a couple of days. Connecting with the clinician, connecting his doctor constantly. I was calling his counselor, substance abuse counselor, meeting them, scheduling them to come to meet them here. He finally decided, and he changed himself, you know, he changed it. It's not because he did it for me, I think that's what he wants to do it in. And now he's working a 2 job. He has not relapsed.
When I got this place, the first thing me and Mr. Oscar, we walked up, we first looked at it first. I fell in love with that bathroom right in.
First time when he came to look at the unit, he came with his case manager at the shelter. So I met with him, I showed him the unit and said, you know, if you let me know if you like it. So we have to let them know, property manager, so they can process. So once I opened the door and he see it, the room already was set up beautifully. He saw it and he knelt on his knee and he teared. And he said, this is my first home I ever had it. I love it.
If you look around right now, if we stop talking for a good 30 seconds right now, it's quiet. Because you can show me the outside of the building, but what's in the inside and what's the neighborhood like? Ain't nothing gonna beat this neighborhood. Nothing. It feels good when you can plug your phone up. Wake up in the morning, and still be there. You can roll left, not hear no snoring. You can roll right, not hear nobody talking to themselves. You know what I'm saying? You can look up at the ceiling. You know, I got fire detectors and all that stuff around you. I'm protected. You know what I'm saying? And I'll say, when y'all get that feeling, man, yeah, it's an unbelievable feeling, man.
Wow, thank you for sharing your story with us. And what a lovely home. We wish you all the best. Before we close this evening's program, I want to thank you for joining us. And now let's hear a few final words from Lyndia Downey.
Although we couldn't celebrate together in person, I'm thrilled that we've been able to come together virtually. I hope you'll join me in raising a glass to you, our supporters, who have made this campaign and all of our work possible. You are the most amazing partners. I'm filled with gratitude for all you've done. On behalf of everyone at Pine Street, please accept my deepest thanks for your generosity. And please reach out with your questions or thoughts. Do hope we'll be able to gather together very soon in person. Thank you and good night.
Hi, I just wanted to take a minute to say thank you on behalf of the Women's Inn, all the guests here. A very heartfelt thank you for all your support.
From the Fleet and Safety Department, thank you.
Thank you from facilities.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you for all your support.
On behalf of the Men's Inn, thank you for your support.
On behalf of the Volunteers Department, thank you, and we miss you.
From the Men's Inn, thank you.
Thank you for your support.
Thanks for your support. We miss you.
Thank you from the street outreach team. We couldn't do it without you.
Workforce Development thanks you for your support.
From the Pine Street Inn Kitchen,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you from the Women's Inn.